it does feel like it's happened overnight in a sense because I think the national acclaim has come suddenly. Um, but for those of us been watching him, we've been like, man, this dude is good.
I saw a tweet recently that you posted, and I thought it was really, really interesting. You posted a screenshot of the recent standings, with the Thunder currently sitting at ninth, about a game out of the sixth spot, with 2.5 years into the rebuild. So I just want to ask you, are you surprised just about how much progress the Thunder are making? Like, what are your thoughts on like where the Thunder lie this season so far?
Yeah, I'm surprised without Chet Holmgren that the Thunder are doing as well as they are. Now, I've been pretty high on the talent with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I've felt like he was an all-star for a couple years now. So what he's doing isn't particularly surprising me. Now, how much he's ascended, maybe kind of a surprise to everybody besides Shai, probably. Josh Giddey has taken a sophomore leap. Jalen Williams, the rookie out of Santa Clara, has been so good. Just kind of like 1 through 15, the Thunder keep exceeding expectations. And so while I thought that the Thunder were going to be better than many were predicting, and I thought that they were going to be a competitive team, not even I. Most people probably would have thought that my preseason predictions were optimistic, but not even I had them like at this point of the season, a game out of a guaranteed playoff spot.
So right now, I think the whole NBA is experiencing a lot of parity right now, and that's we're seeing all sorts of reactions from coaches to fan bases. Where do you see the Thunder? What are their expectations now that they are pretty established?
Yeah, I do think that expectations have been altered since the beginning of the season for sure. I think that when the season started, most analysts, probably most fans, even the optimistic fans, were probably thinking, okay, one more year, get a top 5 pick. Maybe you get lucky and get Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson. And then, you got SGA and Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren and Josh Giddey. Then you're really big cooking. But now that we're over halfway through the season and the Thunder have actually played the tougher part of their season schedule, like if you look at the remaining schedule strength, it gets a little bit wonky because teams have rested players, injured players. Some guys have teams have guys coming back. But the Thunder actually have, on paper, the easiest remaining schedule. So when you look at how well they've played over the past 2 months, you look at how well SGA is playing, and then you look at the schedule and you look at the standings. I mean, at this point, I think expectations are the play-in. I would say that that's where you land. Like, I don't think that this is still the youngest team in the NBA. So to say like there'll be a top 6 guaranteed spot, like, look, the Suns are going to get Devin Booker back. They're going to be better. The Lakers, when they get Anthony Davis, they're going to be better. The Clippers, if Kawhi and PG are ever healthy together, will be better. The Warriors got Curry back now. Like, some of these teams are going to be, winning more games. But I think that the Thunder have proven enough to say that they're at least a solid play-in team. That's what it looks like. I think, I'm not saying they will be, but that's where the expectations have gone for sure.
Brandon, I know this is kind of a silly question in some ways, but I have to ask it. Is it somewhat of an unpleasant surprise that in a year with Wemby coming in the draft, with Scoot Henderson looking amazing, I mean, behind closed doors, is there a little bit of a panic about the success of this team?
There is definitely 2 factions here. One group of people, whether you're saying it's Thunder fans or, Thunder within the media, however you want to say it, all the Thunder people I'm around, half of them feel like, the tank is the way to go. Do your best to try to get Wembanyama. This is a generational talent. And yeah, even if you have a bottom 3 record, you're still just looking at 14% chance. But that's a 14% chance to possibly have the next LeBron or KD. So you want to take those odds. 28% per chance if you want to say Scoot is a generational guy as well, or at least an elite talent, we should say. But then the other side of it is, look, the Thunder aren't winning these games because of guys that aren't going to be around in this core. They're winning because of young guys. They're the youngest team And all their minutes are going to SGA, 24 years old, Josh Giddey, 20 years old, Jalen Williams, 21 years old, Lou Dort, 23 years old. And then, your vet is Kenrich Williams, who just turned 28 years old, and he signed long-term for this team as well. So they're winning with their core. So at the end of the day, if you're winning and you're a play-in team or a playoff team because of your young core, you just kind of have to eat it and be like, well, we're better sooner than we thought. Let's just roll with it. And hey, maybe you'll find a gem in the draft, in the mid-teens. Maybe you make the play-in but lose, so you get a late lottery guy. Look, they've already hit, it looks like, with Jalen Williams. Maybe you can do that again. I will say this draft is deeper than usual. You got the top few guys, you got the top two, then a few after that. Then most experts, from like 5 to 15, it's kind of jumbled, and they're all kind of rated, the same in a lot of ways. So maybe you just roll with it and see what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think you mess with good momentum, especially with the young core that has built this momentum up together. With the trade deadline approaching, have to also follow up by asking, does this recent success potentially, rush a move to get rid of some of those first round picks that have been stored like acorns? Is this a time where you can use those to get a veteran and make a push, or is that a little bit too soon, if we're not potentially even out of the play-in tournament?
No, that's a great question. I've been asked that by some fans, actually. Look, I think that you just ride it out with the young guys. Kemba Walker's still on the books this year. His contract, Derek Favors, and Chet Holmgren isn't healthy. So there's a cap to, the Thunder are a success story already. The future is bright. Whatever these young guys do, let them do it. But I wouldn't go out when you're ceiling for this season is capped anyways, and use any of those assets to get a vet to come in. I certainly wouldn't trade any, young, what you consider high potential guys to get a veteran. Next season, the CBA will change. We'll get new rules and find out what's going on there with salary. The Thunder will free up $30 million in salary cap space. And then you got all these options, whether it's free agents or trading for somebody. So to me, I wouldn't do it this season. I would just ride it out with the young guys.
I think that's a great strategy because I think we see so many teams, like the Knicks, who always go after the sexy free agents, and we see how that story usually goes compared to a team that actually, drafts well, builds off their younger talent, and usually that proves to bear, great rewards down the line. I want to ask you about SGA in particular. I think he reminds me of John Moran just in terms of, he's getting a lot of buzz, and I think, a year or even maybe the All-Star game, depending on how the votes play out. If that does make the team or starts, I think he's poised to be a massive star in the league, along with his fashion sense as well. He's blowing up in the fashion world. I think the combination of that makes him poised to be one of the top stars in the NBA. What is your feeling among just his rise, just in terms of on and off the court? I think it's really something unique within the NBA.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's so funny because OKC, obviously a small market. This is a team that's supposed to be rebuilding. But if you go throughout the history of OKC, really since the Thunder have been here, right off the bat, you have Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Then you get James Harden. Then eventually Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul. There has been a lot of stars come through OKC. And even throughout this rebuild, these last 2.5 years, you have Shai, who just felt like he was destined for it. Like, you see the talent on the court, then you see his work ethic off the court, and then you see his personality. You see him continuously say that he wants to be one of the greats. And so to me, it's not a surprise as far as him becoming an all-star or him becoming a top 10-ish player in the league. It does feel like it's happened overnight in a sense, because I think the national acclaim has come suddenly. But for those of us that's been watching him, we've been like, man, this dude is good. Like, I thought he should have made the All-Star game 2 years ago. Mike Conley got the Lifetime Achievement Award, which is cool. Mike Conley, I'm a fan. He deserved, but if you look at Shai probably deserved to make it. I'm just saying, he's had this talent. But now he's on a team that's playing really well, and his numbers are just undeniable, like 30 and a half, great efficiency. And then the defense, that's the other thing probably. That's maybe the biggest surprise is how well he's doing defensively now. He's averaging 1.7 steals. He's averaging a block a game. He's leading all guards and blocks. He's leading all guards and stocks, blocks and steals. So maybe that part's a surprise, just this all-around game. And then you bring up the fashion thing. It's funny, too, because, the Thunder had Russell Westbrook, and that was his thing, too. Like, he was his superstar, but then he had this whole other thing off the court with fashion. So it almost seems like a passing of the torch from this all-star point guard and Russell Westbrook, who was this, big in the fashion world, to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was named, I think it was GQ's most stylish man of the year this year. So, it's pretty cool to see in small market OKC.
So with Shai's development, it's impressive to me how hard he has grinded. And you mentioned his determination to be one of the greats when, last season, respectfully, he was playing oftentimes around some weird lineups on the team, either because certain pieces of the team were unavailable, things like that. Can you speak to just his tenacity and how he's been able to manage that and kind of be just a good soldier and good heart of the team through it all?
Yeah, so the very first impression I ever got of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the very first Thunder Media Day. He sat down and did his interview with the media, and I looked at the media member sitting next to me after he was done. I was like, man, that kid is sharp. Like, you could just tell, some guys get it. That was just my first initial impression, and I've felt that way, since the beginning, and that hasn't changed. If anything, it's become stronger, that feeling. And what I would say to that is Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault have both said Shai gets the big picture. He looks long-term. They have said this, I don't know how many times. I've probably tweeted it out like a dozen times because each time they've said it, I've probably tweeted it out. All that to say, Shai's not looking, short-term. I think that when he was playing with those wonky lineups, he has said that Sam Presti has been completely transparent. He's always told them the truth. So I think he knows the plan. Look, we all know the plan. The plan was, we need to break this down to build it back up. You wanted top 5 picks. They just missed out when they got Josh Giddey, but look, it looks like he would go top 5 in a redraft, even though they didn't get a top 5 pick. He's been excellent. You could argue he's been the third best. You could argue he's been the second best sophomore this year. And then you get Chet Holmgren. Obviously, he's out this year, but most people had him at 1 or 2. So Shai gets it. Shai knows the deal. And he keeps saying, I'm excited about the future of this team. He knows what's up. He gets it. So I think that's why for him, he looks big picture. So that's why he was, able to get through those times when he was playing with 10-day contract guys and two-way and G League guys like that.
There's a certain level of stardom that players get to where they become, virtually, barring a ridiculous offer, virtually untradeable. Do you think Shai is at that level at this point?
I do. I think he's off the table. I know that prior to this season, his name kept coming up, whether it be in, fan trade machine ideas or, blogs or, big, newspapers and outlets. I was about to say specific ones because I won't do that. But there are some wonky ones. There are some crazy ones. And if you look back at them, like the Thunder would have been ridiculous to make that trade. He's off he's too good. He's 24 years old and he's in year 1 of a 5-year contract with no opt-outs. He didn't want the player option for the 5th year. He is on one of the most valuable contracts in the league. And he's not even to his prime yet. He's going to get even better. And he's such a good leader on and off the court. He's exactly what you want for the face of your franchise. So no, I know that Bill Simmons, he put out he does his annual, trade value list. He had Shai, I believe, at 10 or 11. And I think just as the season goes on and on, it just keeps getting higher and higher. So he's off the table. Sorry, Raptors fans.